would you like me to read your backstory?
You're the narrator.
I suppose I am. I forgot what your last name was.
I have my last name as.
Your name is Smeggle Shortlegs.
I forgot to put that on there.
I never that never clicked with me before when reading through anything. I never registered Smeggle Shortlegs. Oh, I always just thought of you as Smeggle. But oh my gosh. All right. So Smeggle Shortlegs. Why don't you go ahead and describe what Smeggle looks like to you?
Okay, well, he's greenish brown. Okay, wait. Okay. He has dirty green skin, bald, and his eyes are greenish brown.
You said he's bald.
He is 3 foot 6 inches, 60 pounds, and he's 11 years old, which is kind of like 20s, 30s for a goblin.
All right, so he's a goblin. You basically went through the whole introduction
Oh,
without saying, "Oh yeah, he's a goblin." So as
I
far as
thought you were okay. He's a goblin Bogart.
as far as
He's
we knew, you were
a
playing a
goblin.
human who
He has he has the plague.
he's bald, he's got dirty green skin, he's super
He's
short.
already dying right now. His health points are at 0.
Yeah, he's
Um,
he's only got 8 health points left.
he's actually just a rotting corpse. No. So
Surprise, I'm undead.
okay. So yeah, he's a goblin Bogart. Uh, the thief and my alignment and stuff. Or no?
We don't need to worry about that, I suppose. We'll figure that out as we play. Why not? So, all right. Yeah. So you are a goblin Bogart. A Bogart is a goblin that frequents or was raised in, lives in
Swamp
a
goblin.
swamp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so unlike most people, he swims a lot faster, and he does not get slowed down by swampy terrain, which is nice.
I have a resistance to poison
Oh
and
yeah,
disease.
I forgot that you're kind of broken. Actually, that could work really well with some things that I want to do with you. So I'm okay with that.
Am I expecting to get poisoned already?
No, no, no. Just some ideas, some nostalgia that I've been tossing around in my head to kind of like implement that I thought would be neat. Um, but that's for another day. So Smeggle Shortlegs grew up as the son of a chieftain in a bogart, well, in a swamp just off of Jakal Cove. Which actually, let me see if I can do this.
Bring up the map.
Yeah, I don't know if I did this for Melissa's. There we go. Local import. Boom. All right, that's pretty. Oh,
Image error, couldn't read file.
oh shoot. All right, hold on. Let me. This one. Open cloud.
To the cloud.
Oh, gee, I sure hope this cloud one works. Otherwise, we're gonna have an issue. There we go. Import.
You always just send me the file, or right
Can you
there
see
we
that?
go.
All right, cool. All right, so over here.
Okay, how do I like move the table?
Uh,
Oh, there we go.
yeah, you
Yeah,
you
okay.
you
Hit
can use
WASD.
yeah, and then scroll to zoom in. So our lovely Smeggle Shortlegs was born somewhere around here. Um, just off of Jakal Cove. Let's say you were born like over here because it's got to be swampy. So like
Yeah,
along the coastline there, sort of thing.
here.
Or yeah, over there. Or We'll say like down here. Yeah.
What was my story?
Well, you said that you were just born off of Jakal Cove. That's still off of Jakal Cove. You could just like boop 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 boop.
Okay, okay.
I mean, yeah. So yeah, that's where you're from. You're from like this area, specifically this area. Anyway, he was the son of a chieftain, born in that specific area of Jakal, just off of Jakal Cove. It's a jungly swamp type area. He grew up accustomed to the greatest of goblin luxuries that were available and being treated to the highest esteem. Treated to the highest esteem. So, you grew up with like toys made out of real bone instead of just like Twix and Stigs, and you know, you had the occasional like tin or copper chalice that you guys got to drink out of instead of like wooden bowls or just cupping it with your hands, or like lamb skins and stuff. Actually, I guess you wouldn't have lamb. Maybe like alligator skins.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll go with alligator skins.
yeah, yeah.
And you unlike your naked brethren, you actually got to wear pants.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you got to wear pants, which showed high esteem among the goblins. The fact that you wore pants and a sash, a really pretty pink sash.
Pink sash.
You don't want it to be pink. I mean, it could be like.
Okay, it can be pink, whatever you want.
No, I mean that's up to you. What color do you want to be?
Oh, I was thinking more of a green.
A green for your green skin, your dark green skin, like a lime
Like
green
I
on.
was just all green.
Just all green. So green pants, dark like dirty green skin, and then a green sash.
So I kind of still held like, kind of still look kind of naked, but
I gotcha. So
yeah,
it was all a ruse that only the goblins understood. Like humans would look at you and be like, "Oh, he's just naked," but all
yeah.
the goblins knew like that guy, he's wearing clothes.
Or you could see just his penis wasn't showing.
Uh, How do you wait? I wonder what the anatomy of a goblin is.
I would smaller human.
All right, that's fair. We'll go with it. They got genitals.
I would assume they're mammals.
Anyway, so on his I think it was eighth birthday. Yeah, on his eighth birthday, he reached adulthood basically and was going to be crowned successor to the Goblin clan that he was a part of. That he was like the kind of heir to, the prince to, the son of the chieftain. So you were getting ready to be crowned chieftain, basically. Your father was passing it down. He lived a good long life as a chieftain, ruling, and he was basically going to become your advisor when you took over. Um, excuse me. And uh, during the ceremony, your whole tribe began to hear trumpets and the sound of horses' hooves and clanking armor. And before you knew it, a hunting party was upon you, and they were throwing nets over you, spearing anyone who resisted, shooting people with like crossbows, killing a lot of the men, but trying to keep the women and children and some of the younger men alive. Um, During the ceremony, they actually one of the noblemen came up and trampled your father,
Yep.
and speared him right through the side. Like came up and knocked him down, and then kind of sidestepped and just went shah and just speared him right in the side. Um,
Still have the images in my head right now.
yeah. So the last thing that you remember seeing as a net was tossed over you and you got captured was watching this nobleman cut down your father, and then you were dragged away. Um, so Smeggle was then captured by these colossal silver-lined steeds with humans on them, clad in some armor with purple and then silver-lined tabards. So it's like a purple tabard with silver lining.
Yep.
Um, and
Was that
once
something you added, or did I say that?
I'm embellishing.
Okay. Okay.
You actually did say silver lined steeds, so I decided to kind of go off of that. Um,
I mean, purple is a noble color. I mean, it's more expensive.
yeah, exactly. And as a hunting party, they would flaunt their colors. It would be very noticeable in the green of the jungle.
Mm,
So that would be good to have. Um, but yeah, so after being captured, he was taken back to the capital of Eldon, which, if I could move, there we go, is right up there. So he was taken back to the capital of Eldon and sold as a slave to some noblemen. And throughout your time there, you were very frequently mistreated because not only were you a goblin, you weren't human, which not all, not everyone in Eldon is racist like that, but there definitely seems to be from the noblemen and below, depending on your race, there seems to be special treatment.
yeah.
And being a goblin, which some people equate goblins to like vermin, akin to vermin,
Mm,
depending on how awful of a person they are. Which the nobles you got sold to were very awful.
yes.
Um,
Yes.
they treated you as such. They beated you. They beated you. They beat you. They verbally abused you. They humiliated you
Throw
constantly.
beats at me.
Yeah, it was a public flogging with rotten beats. They were just like, "Ha! I'm beating you." They took your pants away.
Was that hurt me the most?
Yeah, that was where the humiliation came from because in front of the entire staff, they pantsed you.
And yeah, and a bunch of my clansmen. It was, dishonored, to be among the lower goblins, pantsless.
Yes, exactly. And over time, you worked with your goblin cohorts, your clansmen. They took two other clansmen with you as slaves, and you worked with them to steal very subtly and over the course of the 3 years that you were enslaved to them to steal various things. So, the occasional silverware, sometimes like an embroidered handkerchief or like a nice silk shirt. Nothing that would like go
Didn't really.
nothing that would be like missed. So it's not like you went and stole like gold jewelry and rings and like crowns and gems and stuff like that. But you were pinching your pennies and stealing from some of the other slaves that mistreated you. So like occasionally like the steward who is the head of the estate when the master is gone, or like the butler or someone like that, like you would sneak into their room and steal some of the money that they had. So like coppers and silver pieces, until eventually you had enough to purchase your freedom, and you were going to attempt to purchase your clansman's freedom, but the price to free yourself was far greater than you expected. So your clansmen, still being loyal to you, gave up their freedom so that you could live free.
Wow, that's touching.
Yeah. So they sacrificed their chance of being free. They gave you their money so that way you could be free. And that is the only type of kindness that you have really witnessed. And since you had been captured, you've become a very jaded. Pardon the pun, a very jaded goblin.
In color and spirit.
Yes, your skin actually got darker green throughout the years, surprisingly.
And hard as some kind of mineral.
Yeah, it could just be the buildup of like grime and dirt and stuff, but
Yes.
it could also be the fact that your heart shrunk 3 sizes that day.
Calcified the rest of my body. Yes.
Yeah. So because of that, I'm going to give you a +10 to AC. No, I'm kidding. um, so yeah, that was like the only kindness that you have really seen, and you're not sure if it was kindness because of loyalty to you being the chieftain's son and being of higher status than them, and them feeling as if they needed to give it to you, or if they were truly doing it out of the kindness of their own hearts, like saying like, your life is more worthy than ours.
I feel like Smeggle has a hard time discerning that as well.
Okay.
Discerning kindness from well, sympathy, kindness to just, doing something for somebody's own gain, being a means to an end instead of a end itself.
Right, right. Yeah, that sounds good. That makes sense. I like it. Um, but yeah, so you have since then been freed, and you have been living on the streets of Eldon. Basically, the only way that you've been able to live is by stealing food from like merchant carts and occasionally maybe like pickpocketing people when you can. Like when there's an especially like fat stupid noble kind of walking by and you don't think they'll notice, you'll like kind of bump into them, and you're so small that they most of the time they don't notice you, they don't realize. You'll occasionally pinch a few pennies from like merchants and stuff like that, couple silver, couple copper, just to afford your way. And when you steal trinkets, you do have one contact in the Thieves Guild of Eldon to sell it to, kind of fence it off to. Um, so that's one of the ways that you've been making a living.
Oh, good.
And so you've been living off your thieving skills, your burglary skills.
And that's my story.
Yeah, and that's your story.
And that's the end.
It's
Everybody, good night.
it's a tragic story, and that's everything. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time. All right, yeah, that was a good session, Jesse. Good, I liked it.
I didn't die this time.
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, jeez. Like somebody, a noble could accidentally like step on me and I'd die.
Yeah, who knows? You might meet the same fate as your father. You'll just get trampled by a horse.
Just a random horse. It's just horses in this campaign. Like everybody uses them. I'm going to get trampled on.
You know what? Actually, because of that horror that you witnessed of your father being trampled by a horse, and your practicing of becoming a thief, basically the upbringing of a thief, you have become very nimble and very dexterous and acrobatic, and you are. It's a lot easier for you to just kind of step out of the way.
Our way of horses, just horses though.
Yeah, so like when you're walking through like the bustling city street and there's like a whole bunch of horses and you're weaving through the legs, like they have a very hard time trying to step on you just because you're so squirrely. Like you're very slippery. They're like, I got him now, clump, and you're like, hey, you did not.
I mean, I didn't know the horses were out to get me, but
well, I mean, it's not intentional. You just kind of get in their way sometimes, and sometimes you spook them because they're not expecting this little green thing to kind of like pop up under their foot, and they're just like, ah. It's kind of like
or like a little bit of grime on the street or something.
Yeah, like they thought you were just a trash pile. Like the horse in front of them just laid it, just like dumped right in front of them, and they're like, oh, okay.
It's a walking dump.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. That was fun. I enjoyed that.
I'm low, so.
What's that?
I said now my character's self-esteem is all-time low.
See, it's part of your hiding in plain sight. You just disguise yourself as poop, and you're good.
Exactly.
Sometimes you grab the poop and you like kind of smear it all over yourself, and
Crap just stole a cup of opera. Literally a piece of crap.
All right.
Okay.
So, Jesse.
Enough of this crap. Let's.
All right. So, Jesse, you start off on the side streets of Eldon, and you've been wandering the streets. You're very hungry. You're close to starving at this point. It's been a while since you've had anything to eat. And you know that basically you need to get some food some way, shape, or form. You can't eat garbage anymore. The smell of poop is just like wafting out the streets, and you're just like, I can't stomach this garbage. I need some actual food.
All right.
So yeah, it's time to get some food.
So, can I make perception check to see, do I see any carts or like stalls with decent food, maybe ones that more nobles are going towards?
Oh, you want to steal the good food?
I'm tired of eating garbage.
Well, I meant like literal garbage, like rummaging through like trash piles trying to find like scraps of food to eat.
Like if I find like a fruit stall or something
Okay,
nearby.
yeah, yeah. Go ahead and roll that d20.
Okay, it's my D20 right here.
Yeah.
Right. Is that for the perception check?
Yeah. This would be a perception check. So you rolled an 8, and then you'll add. I think perception is wisdom, so you'll add your perception modifier as well. I believe you're proficient in it, so as well as your proficiency modifier.
So 2 plus my wisdom modifier,
Yeah.
which is 3, so plus 5.
So 8 plus 5, which is 13. All right. So yeah, wandering the streets, you've kind of wandered into the center marketplace of Eldon, where a lot of food stalls and trade goods and stuff are being sold, and you happen to see a few different ones. You see a cabbage merchant with a cart full of cabbage. You see my cabbages. I was hoping you'd get that. You do see a fruit stall as well. He's got some apples, some pears. No, actually, yeah, bananas. They're imported from Jakal Cove. They were a delicacy among your people. The bananas. You
Oh, okay.
you see some bananas there. You also see a butcher merchant. And he's selling some like dried goods, so like jerky and some other cured and dried meats.
All right. So for a goblin, I don't know how much it is to like fill me up. So I wasn't sure if like meats would do better. I don't know if in we
Well,
ate like a lot of fish, I guess.
I mean, like I'd say like if you got a strip of jerky versus like an apple, like that would pretty much fill you up the same. But if you got like 3 or 4 pieces of jerky versus an apple, the jerky would probably fill you up more than the apple, that sort of thing.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna sneak up to the stall. The is the butcher looking or
So the guy running the stall, he is basically heckling the crowd. He's just yelling, "Fresh jerky here! We got teriyaki, we got spicy, we got pepper," like all that sort of stuff. Just saying, he's got all this jerky and meat, fresh meat for people, and he's just kind of like staring off into the crowd, trying to get people's attention.
can I see if I can slide up next to the side? Since I'm so short, I don't know if you could see me.
Make a stealth check.
So stealth check. Would that be my dexterity?
Look for stealth. I believe it is dexterity.
Dexterity and stealth. I have a proficiency.
Yeah, so you'll roll a d20 and then. Oh, I do have your PDF. Let me open that up so that way I can help you. Yeah, go ahead and roll the d20. And yeah, it is dex and you are proficient in stealth.
19. I
So
am super stealthy.
19 plus 4, so 23, plus 2, so 25.
Like I am a shadow. I know I am taking my embodiment of the crap.
So, all right.
I stick onto the bottom of a horse's hoof and I slither off like a thing of flubber.
So yes, so The butcher, he's not looking anywhere near down. His eyes are up. He's trying to engage with every single customer that comes by. He's not paying attention to the 3.5 foot green dirt covered goblin that very stealthily cuts his way through the crowd. At one point, hiding up under a noble's robe. You just kind of like slip up
I
the
can't feel a 3'6"
you you
goblin.
you kind of like you very deftly like pull back the robe a little bit and just like tuck up under it, and so now it just looks like they got a nice butt, like that the robe is like going over the butt and falling down, and so you just kind of like you follow along behind them as they walk by the butcher, and so as they're walking by, you just kind of very quickly duck down and around the side. Um,
So, is there anything behind the butcher?
he
Like,
is.
is it just open?
No, his stall is up against the wall of a building, so like there's some room to walk behind it, but it's not like a crowd would go back there. It's he's kind of like to the back of his shop, which is on the edge there.
Do I see like anything sitting behind him?
You see a few crates that'll have some of the jerky and stuff in it, as well as you see him standing to the side of his stall, and you can see the back end of the stall from this point.
Okay.
And you can see a lockbox, you can see a pouch, and you can see a few like small sacks with jerky in it.
Okay. And that's behind him.
That's in the stall. So there's the stall that had those things,
Oh, okay.
but
In the stall.
but then in the walkway behind it, there are some crates that also have some meat goods, some dried goods in it.
Okay. So, since he's paying attention to the crowd, I'm gonna, I guess, scooch to the front of the stall, like under it still. Stall is like sitting on something. It's like it's not open. It's not like sitting on legs. Because that's what I'm kind of visualizing right now.
So the stall, I'm going to draw a picture. So this will be the side view of the stall. And then it's got like a little canopy here, sort of thing like that. So the front end, like this, and then the canopy. So this is solid wood, the front.
So I cannot get under there.
Right, so you wouldn't be able to sneak under there. But I basically pictured you
Hanging right
like,
here.
yeah, I
Is this
basically pictured you like right here and the butcher's over here.
okay?
So
Okay.
so you're like right there.
Oh,
That's
he's out in front.
yeah. He was kind of like standing to the side trying to heckle people. Like he moved out, so he's not behind the stall right now. So
Uh,
you would be
so I'm
here.
gonna try reaching up whatever's here. Do I know what's right there?
When you were walking by, you saw like a few pieces of jerky just on display sitting out.
I saw there was a. You said there was a lockbox in a pouch.
Yeah, the lockbox in the pouch is going to be behind the stall on some shelves behind this wooden piece right here. So
I'm going to for the jerky.
you're gonna reach for the jerky. You said yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna have you make a sleight of hand check.
Okay. Sleight of hand.
Yeah. So roll the
So
d20.
I. So yeah, I have proficiency in that as well.
Yeah, I mean you are a thief, so that makes sense.
Okay.
Wow, that was almost really bad.
That was okay.
All right, so
Plus
17 plus 5.
plus two. Oh well. Sleight of hand is what?
Oh no,
Dexterity.
that's plus 6.
Four
I'm sorry.
plus two is 6. So 17 plus 6 is 23.
Yeah. Yeah, so no problem. You very deftly are, again, very deftly. Um, you kind of like look over your shoulder at the crowd. You make your like you scan the crowd to make sure that no one's kind of looking your way. And as you do that, you kind of like peer around the front corner to see the guy still standing there, and he is, and he turns away and starts talking to someone that's standing there, and you just reach up and you grab 3 pieces of jerky.
Nice.
Yeah, you just like reached and scrabbled and grabbed a handful, and you managed to get like 3 pieces of jerky, no problem.
So now I'm gonna slide behind it
Okay.
since he's out in front. Would that require a check? I mean, like him. I'm just gonna
Um.
slide behind it.
Yeah. Make me another stealth check.
So let's not go for the one.
Jeez, Jesse.
I'm so good. I'm gonna be so overpowered in this game.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, I've got to take a picture of this and send this to Melissa because you are just like her.
But the numbers I'm rolling.
Yes, you've rolled.
I
You've
think it was
rolled.
a 19, 17, a 18. The first one was an 8, though. I told you I'm just but a whisper.
You've rolled a 19, a 17, and an 18 in a row. You are one devious little goblin. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah. You walk around. Actually, where are my die? Hold on.
Do you want to roll your own die? So
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm gonna roll my own die here. All right. Let's see how this one rolls. Yeah. Okay. So no problem. Yeah. You sneak up
What
behind.
what do you roll for?
I was rolling for the butcher.
Oh, for his perception.
Yeah. Basically, the only way he would have caught you is if he got a natural 20.
Oh, okay.
You want to know what he rolled? He
What do you roll?
he rolled a 2.
This butcher's so dumb. He's not even. He's so oblivious.
Yeah. So the butcher, he
People act like he's like laughing that this guy's. I mean, chuckling to himself, not like, I just stole something.
honestly at this point he could laugh out loud and no one would even hear it because of the crowd. Like this butcher is so like so sure of himself right now. Like he's selling hard to this this pack of passersby. He's got their attention. He's just heckling them. And he's like, "I've got the best jerky in town, right over here. You come and get it. I got all the flavors for you. I got pineapple. I got pear. I got spicy jerky made from the freshest peppers from Jakal Cove and Yantir. I've got just like going on and on and on." And you're just kind of like, "Yeah, whatever, buddy."
And I have my regular jerky. Wait. Must have sold out that already.
See, even when he looks over, he doesn't realize it. He's just like, "Oh wow, I've been selling more than I thought. I'm doing pretty great." So yeah, no issue. You slip around the back. You can see under there the lockbox, the pouch, and then another like small satchel full of jerky.
Does it really require a stealth? I mean, like to steal the rest because it's right there.
No, you stealthed around. You're fine. This guy's oblivious. He's not paying attention to you.
Okay, I'll take the rest of the jerky.
All right.
The pouch, of course.
Okay, the little satchel there. Sure.
The lockbox. Do I have anything like? I'm assuming I have like a backpack or something.
Um.
Would I be starting with my satchel, my burglar's bag or what?
Yeah. You've got a small backpack.
Toss that lockbox in there.
All right, you toss the lockbox into the backpack. You snatch up the satchel, and you grab the jerky, and I guess stuff it all into your backpack.
Yep.
All right, yeah, you're good. You did that. So you're standing behind You're standing behind the stall right now, freshly looted the entire thing. This guy is completely oblivious.
How much more jerky did I get from?
You got like for you, it would be basically like 10 days worth of rations.
Okay, so I'm just adding this to treasure.
Yeah,
A
I'm gonna
pouch.
give you some note cards that way you don't have to worry about writing it all down now.
Don't worry about writing it. Okay. Am I a master in deception? I think I am.
Yeah. You if you
Yep.
had gotten caught, you could have tried to lie your way out of it too.
Planning on. I'll be like, oh, can I have this jerky here? Try to. So I'm behind the stall.
Yeah, you were behind a stall.
I didn't hear you. So I'm behind the stall. Um, I'm just gonna. I just keep moving this way, like still within behind the stall.
Where are you trying to go?
Like get out of there without like being noticeably coming out this way, being like, oh, sorry, I was back there. No,
Okay,
I'm just gonna go this way. So
so you're gonna
hunters.
you're gonna kind of like try and kind of go around like that.
Oh, is there anything this way? Is there
Um,
like a wall right there or something?
so there would be like a wall here. This would be like the storefront that he's standing in front of, and this is where some of those bot like crates and stuff were.
So okay,
So
can I go out like this and then this? Like, so I'm not so obviously going out this way, and he could see me.
gotcha. So this one here is the front view. This one is the side view. So what you're saying that you want to do is you want to kind of like go back behind it and then turn and walk away.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you can do that. No problem. Yeah. So you just walked away without any issue. Just no qualms whatsoever. Like that guy was oblivious. He had no idea that you just robbed him blind. Basically, stole presumably what you think would be his entire earnings for the day. Some of his food, as well as a pouch and a lockbox. You're not sure what exactly is inside the pouch or the lockbox, but yeah.
Okay.
Um, Jeez, Jesse, those rolls.
Jeez.
All right. So as you're walking away, I want you to roll another perception check.
Okay.
5 + 5 is 10.
Yeah.
All right. So as you're walking away, um, you did so confidently. Like you walked away, not like you didn't try to look suspicious or anything. You just kind of straight up walked away. As you start slipping into the crowd, you kind of look back over your shoulder and smile to yourself, like, "Wow, that was easy. That was smooth. Like I am talented. I am skilled." And as you look over your shoulder, you notice this this tall but like kind of thin, lithe figure staring directly at you. He's hooded. You can't see what he looks like, but you see him watching you walk away.
Okay. I'm just gonna keep on like slipping through the crowd, but a little bit faster.
Okay. Um, why don't you make? Are you trying to lose him, or are you just trying to like
get.
obviously walk through the crowd.
I mean, like, I don't know what this guy's intentions are, so
Okay.
I'm just gonna keep slipping like through a little bit quicker.
Okay. So yeah, so you're able to you start walking through the crowd. You pick up your pace a little bit. Um, you start like sidestepping in between people's legs. Some horses that are walking through. You just like duck under the horses and then under the cart and then out the other side. Um, and what do you do?
Do I see any alleyways or anything?
Any alleyways? Yeah, there are a few
Yeah,
alleyways.
anything that I duck into the closest one, I guess.
Closest one. Okay. So you after popping out from under that cart, you kind of quickly jog over and like dart into the alleyway.
Uh,
All right.
and let me see, what do I have? What's in the alleyway? What am I seeing?
You just you ducked into one of the alleyways off of the marketplace. There are a few different like shops and buildings here, some taller ones. It's a little dark in there. You see the occasional like stack of crates with some destroyed crate around it, like just kind of crumpled crate, kind of rotted out. A barrel or two, some sackcloth. Um, Nothing too crazy.
All right, down the alleyway, but I want to be looking over my shoulder, and, like seeing if anyone's following me.
Okay. Make a perception check.
If I get 20, I get to see through the wall. Okay.
I'm the DM. I make the rules here.
Okay, it's 15.
Okay, I couldn't tell if that was a 15 or a 4. All right. So 15. You look over your shoulder and you don't see anyone. It doesn't look like anyone's following you. Doesn't look like anyone's peering into the alleyway. You kind of like walked in and nothing to worry about.
Okay, so I'm gonna go. You know those rotted crates you said
Yeah.
over there?
Hmm.
I'm gonna go like to the side of those, out of the view. If anyone looked down the alleyway, could see me.
Okay, so
So
so you're gonna kind of like hide behind them and kind of like peer around, peer through, just to see if there is anyone that happens to stick their face out.
yeah.
Okay. So you hide behind the crates or hide in one maybe and like peer through like some cracks in the rotted wood just for a good vantage point. That way like you can see them but they can't see you, sort of thing. Go ahead and make another perception check. It looks like you just dropped it. Finally, you roll something low. Um, so you sit there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Feel like I'm dozing off.
You feel like you're okay. So you've been sitting there for 10, 15 minutes. Haven't seen anyone. No glimpse of anyone seemingly poking their head through. And you kind of get comfortable. Rotted wood. It's kind of soft. Like it's kind of comfy. You've slept in
Yeah.
worse places. You kind of like get nuzzled and you're just sitting there. And you start to doze off. Do you actually want to fall asleep or do you want to like catch yourself?
I'm gonna catch myself
All right.
because I don't want to be there.
Okay.
Dozing off. I'm like my eyes getting tired just watching.
Okay.
Like I catch myself and then.
All right. So you catch. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say. So
No.
so you keep yourself from falling asleep. You wake yourself up. You realize you're falling asleep and just kind of like shake your head. Still haven't seen anyone. What do you do?
Yeah. I turn to my pack and see what with the pouch and everything.
Okay. Um, so you open up your pack as you're sitting inside this little crate. You start rummaging through it. Again, you notice that you got the satchel of jerky with about like 10 days worth of dried meat rations. You pull out the small lockbox and the small pouch.
look in the pouch first since it'd be easiest.
Okay. You're right. Yeah, it's just like a drawstring bag. So you open it up and pull the cinching, and you look inside. You start digging through, and it's just a small pouch with some pretty minor coin in it. It's got. Let's do this the fun way. It's got. You get 4 copper pieces,
Or
and
copper.
let's roll. Let's roll this one. And ooh, that was pretty nice. 3 silver pieces.
Okay, so
So that looks like it was either his.
I
Actually,
just added to like my pouch cash or whatever I have.
yeah. I'd say don't worry about adding things up just yet because we'll take care of all that. Um,
Don't even worry about adding stuff to my notebook yet.
oh, I'm not. I'm creating note cards here, item cards. See, aren't they pretty? They tell you everything that you've got, so that way you can keep track of it and add it later.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, but yeah, all right. So you got yourself 4 pieces of copper and 3 pieces of silver out of the small pouch. Why don't you make an investigation check on it for kicks and giggles?
Okay. Is that D20?
Yeah, 8.
8. Okay. 8 plus my investigation, which is wisdom, or
Investigation is
intelligence.
intelligence.
So 1 plus
2.
3.
Yeah, so 3, 8 plus 3, so 11. Um, so looking at it, you can't quite tell if this pouch was like the butcher's personal coin purse that he just left back there, or maybe it was like quick earnings that he was making for the day and didn't have time to put in the lockbox. You're not quite sure exactly what it was.
All right. Well, I guess the next logical thing is to attempt to open the lockbox, like just open it, like pulling it open, really.
Okay. So you pull out the lockbox and you try to pull it open, and it's locked.
Kind of roll strength check. Like
Sure.
see if I can just pry this thing open.
Yeah, absolutely. You can absolutely roll a strength check against this tiny lock.
Oh, I thought it was a 1. I was like,
So what is that?
don't,
12,
yeah.
12
The
plus 1?
lockbox cut your fingers open.
So you're holding the lockbox, you're looking at this tiny little box. You can feel that there's some weight to it, so you're like, all right, let's see if I can pry this open. And you try to like dig your nails into the seam around the lock, and you start like trying to pry, and you're going, and it doesn't seem to want to give, like to budge. Like you can feel it kind of give a little. You can feel it's not like the most solid of locks, but you can't seem to brute force it open.
Okay. What do I, so in my pouch, I mean in my bag, do I still have everything like the burglar's pack with all that stuff?
Um, we will go ahead and assume that you would carry um, important tools with you. It's like important tools and like weapons and like items that you would need. So like presumably your backpack still has like all the stuff that comes with it, like ball bearings and 10 feet of string and some junk like that. Um, but more importantly, you would have your thieves tools on you.
Thieves tools?
Yeah, your like lock picks and stuff like that.
I'll try to pick the lock.
I was honestly surprised you didn't try that first.
The logical thing first is try to like open it.
Well, yeah, but then when you're like, I want to try and brute force it open, I'm like, all right, this will be interesting.
I don't know. I just I'm playing into character.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I enjoy it. Keep doing that. That is the fun part.
I
Um,
mean, okay.
Go ahead and roll that d20 to try and pick the lock. Actually, let me look
I
at.
don't even roll, but it just kind of just dropped. But
Well, if it I
you
guess
spun it.
I
and then
guess.
just dropped it.
Yeah, I was gonna
So I
say. I
went
guess that still technically counts. Um.
19.
I'm trying to, just for my own curiosity, because I forget. I'm trying to remember what it is that you do, like how the thieves' tools work, what modifiers they use.
I would assume dexterity, but
I would assume two. Either that
like
or it's
sleight of
just
hand.
either that or I think it might just be your whatever you roll plus um, your proficiency bonus. Either way, you got above a 20. So it would be 19 plus 2, I think. But I'll double check
Okay.
that to see which one's which. Anyway, so you kind of like plop yourself down in the crate, cross your legs. You have the box kind of sitting up against your feet. You dig into your pack. You pull out your thieves' tools. You open up the little folded piece of like cloth that you keep all your tools in. Um,
Hmm.
Inside, just so you know what your thieves' tools consist of. Inside is a small file, a set of lockpicks, a small mirror mounted on a metal handle, um, a set of narrow bladed scissors, and a pair of pliers. So,
So the lockpick, of course.
all right. So you pull out the lockpicks and you insert. I forget what the tool is called, but um, there's like this one tool that you put into the lock to like apply pressure to turn it, and then you got the actual pick that you go and hit the tumblers with, and you stick the pressure one in, and then you start feeling around with the lockpick, and as soon as you tap up into the lock 2 times, all of a sudden it just goes click and turns.
Oh, that was easy. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, you are.
Okay. So I am opening the lockbox.
All right. So you open the lockbox, and
$1 million.
so that would be 14. Um, so inside you find 14 copper pieces,
Okay.
5 silver pieces, and we'll just do this, and 5 gold pieces.
Nice. So is it that 10 copper make a silver, 10 silver make a gold, 10 gold makes a platinum?
Yeah.
Okay.
14 copper. What did I say? 5 silver?
And 5 gold.
No, it was 4. It was 4 silver and 5 gold.
Okay.
So yeah, you can basically surmise that the lockbox was definitely like the earnings of the shop, at least for that day. You don't know if it might have been more days than that,
Hmm.
but a decent haul.
Okay, well, I put the money in my pouch and just tossed the box away.
Oh, you just get rid of the box altogether?
Need it.
That's true. I guess you don't. So do you like throw it out of the crate, or do you just leave it inside the crate to
I, sorry,
do what?
I did. Uh, Somebody was leaving.
Oh, okay. Um, so
The money in my pouch. I didn't leave the money in there and just
right,
toss it.
right. No, I get that, but like, were you just like throwing the box out of the crate, or were you just gonna leave it there?
Yeah,
And...
like comically, like you just see a lockbox just fly out of the crate.
Okay. All right. So you just kind of like throw it up and over your shoulder. You hear it hit the wall and then smack into the floor, and you hear like a little crunch as it makes impact with the ground.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you want to do next?
Okay, well, I have all my money and everything with me, so I have my backpack on again. So I peer out slowly again to see. And I just made all this noise, not a big deal. But like, if anyone's there,
Okay. Roll a perception check.
should someone be watching me? Well, 10.
10 plus 5 is 15, right?
Hmm.
All right. So you peer out of the box. You look down one end of the alleyway, and you don't see anyone. You look down the other end of the alleyway. Still don't see anyone.
So, I guess I just hop out.
Oh,
I go.
that would have been 14 anyway. It's not Dex, it's Wisdom. Sorry, I was just
Anyway,
anyway.
so yeah, I hop out. I go down the end that I didn't enter from.
Okay, so you start to leave through the other end. Um, so as you jump out of the box and you start walking down to the end that you did not enter from, you basically go straight through the alley. Actually, let's do this. This will be fun. All right. So let's say this.
Oh, I thought you meant like
Say this.
setting up.
So we'll say that, some barrels like right over here, and some crates right here, and some garbage, some more crates. All right. So we'll say that you were like right here, like halfway down the alleyway, and you entered in through this side, and you're heading out this side. All right. So as you climb out of the rubble of the boxes and you look both ways and you start to head this way, as you start to near the end of the alleyway, a figure steps out of the shadows and stops you.
Okay, and then I just look at him like quizzically for a second.
So you look up at him, and he is a tall, lithe figure, hooded, cloak about him. You can't quite see much about him, but he does kind of look like a guy who was watching you earlier.
And I'll be like, "What do you want?"
Oh, wow. Not even going to try to run or anything. I like it.
I've dealt with so much crap in my life.
At this point, you're just like, I don't care. What do you want from me? So the figure looking down at you says that he looks at you and goes, I've been watching you, little one. You're pretty skilled being able to just take the jerky and that lockbox and that sack of money out from behind the butcher's stall. Where'd you learn your craft?
Like, what are you talking about?
You said, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? I don't have any of that.
The figure you hear, he's got kind of a deep voice. He kind of chuckles, and he says, oh, yes, and I suppose a rat decided to throw that lockbox out of the crate just a moment ago.
Peer over to it, and I look back, and it's like, yeah, why not? What about it?
You're a funny one. Tell you what. And he pulls back his hood, and you can see that he is an orc. And he's got, small tusks about, 2.5 inches coming from the bottom jaw. He's got slicked back hair, kind of pulled into a tight ponytail at the back. It's not super long. And he looks at you and says, I could use someone with your kind of skill.
Okay. And I'd be like, well, I can use you to get the hell out of my way so I can leave this alley.
He kind of smirks and says, for a goblin, you're pretty spunky. And then the smile kind of fades, and he looks, and as he's looking at you, smile fades, and he says, I'm not getting out of your way until you give me an answer. You want to help me?
And then he's like, and then I'm just kind of, I don't want to look desperate, I'm just like kind of interested. I know what I've been living with,
Mm-hmm.
and and I ask him, "Will it get me out of this shithole?"
He takes a moment to think, and he kind of like a little half smile appears, and he says, "Depends on what you do with yourself. You could be digging yourself into another one if you're not careful."
And then I like I like steadily move in front of him, like past him,
You try to move past him.
want him to come, like, let's go or whatever.
Okay, so you're not trying to escape him. You're trying to be like, all right, well, let's just get out of here, sort of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, so as you start to take a step and move around him, you see his left hand kind of move to his hip really quick as he eyes you, and then I take it you like look up at him and like kind of like jerk your head to the side, like, well, come on.
Yeah.
And so once he sees you do that, he just kind of he relaxes a little bit, drops his hand, and as you start to walk around him, he turns and then falls into step with you. Um, and as you guys start to walk out of the alleyway, he speaks down to you. Down as in like literally, he is 6 foot something. He is double your height. um, so he's not like demeaning you, but he looks down and talks down at you, and says, most of the goblins that I've ever come across are a skittish folk. You seem to have a confidence about you.
I just nod and just keep walking.
All right.
And I ask, "Where are we going?"
Uh, he says, "We're gonna head to the Thieves Guild. Follow me, and I'll take you to one of the entrances."
And then like my ears like perk up, like I'm kind of interested.
Your long green ears just kind of go twang 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 twang.
That's my spider senses. No, but now like just the thought of not just that, like I'm a loner really.
Right, but the idea of being kind of part like involved with the Thieves Guild intrigues you, especially as a thief.
Yes.
So he notices the slight perk in your ear and kind of grins and says, "I thought you might like the idea of working with the Thieves Guild."
So I guess we just continue on our way.
Yeah. So you guys, you walk out of the alleyway, you walk down the street, a couple of blocks, you tuck into another alleyway. You're still following him. You head down that alleyway, make a left, go down a little bit more, make a right, and then another right, and then you'll make a left. And he just seems to be taking you through all these like various back alleyways across the city, and then eventually, unless you want to do anything,
Following.
just still following. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh,
I'm just looking around, kind of like for exits if need be.
okay. So escape routes. I gotcha.
Yeah.
So he keeps taking you, down these various alleyways throughout the city. Some of them look to be dead ends, and then by the time you reach the end, he makes a quick turn, and you didn't realize that there was another alleyway at that end that it turned into. It looked like a dead end. Are you trying to like keep an idea about where you are, or just following him kind of blindly?
I've been in the city for a while, so I know kind of around. Or no, or like how long has it been since I got out?
I'd say you've been living on the streets for about 3 months or so.
I have a
Um,
decent idea.
you would have a moderate, like a pretty moderate idea. I mean, it's Eldon is a big city. It's the capital city, one of the human capitals. You don't know much, but in your time as a wow, as a servant, you did learn of a few of the capitals. You know that Eldon is the northeastern capital of humans. It's run by a human king. There's definitely more races than humans there. There's races of all kinds. You see dwarves, you see gnomes, halflings, you see orcs. They're not uncommon. They're a little bit more, I guess, sparse, but they're definitely orcs that are frequently there. Um,
Mm.
you might occasionally see a dragonborn, which to you are giant lizard folk. They look like dragons to you. Everything that you've ever heard in like a fairy tale, that's what you see. You see half elves and high elves. Um,
Are since it's a human capital, do I sense a lot of racism towards non-humans?
it depends on the type of race that you are. Um, like I said before, you know that goblins, depending on who you're around anyway, will get treated as kind of like vermin. Humans especially tend to be a little bit more, I guess, racist toward the goblins, but it's not all humans. It's not like a unanimous thing, where it's like, oh wow, goblins are filth. Um, Dwarves tend to have a great aversion to goblins. Dwarves do not like to fraternize with goblins very much at all. Um, Gnomes have a respect for goblins because there are a lot of goblins that tend to have great intellect and curiosity when it comes to like tinkering and that sort of thing. Um,
Mm.
and halflings, they don't really give one way or the other as long as you're not like
Not in jerk.
yeah as long as like you don't cross them, then they're good, whatever. um elves elves kind of have like, I'd say, almost like a pitying respect for you. um
Like you're beneath them, but
Almost like you're
I
not
mean, like that.
almost like you're not of like the same status, almost not like a hey I'm better than you type of status, but more of like a um that poor creature type thing, like um
Um,
I'm trying to think of a good way to explain it. It's like some
no,
of
I
the
was saying because I actually threw dice off.
oh yeah, it comes back. um so elves, they're not like the stereotypical elf that's like all high and mighty sort of thing that's often portrayed in like movies and stories and stuff like that. Elves tend to, at least the elves around here, tend to have more of an attunement with nature, so they understand the fact that you are, a creature of this planet, of this earth. That so they have a respect for you in the fact that you are a sentient living being, and creature, but at the same time they don't quite hold you in the same regard or status as they would like a fellow human or dwarf, or even orc. Even though they find orcs very like brutish and savage, they don't quite hold you in the same esteem as the other races.
Understandable.
Yeah, but they're definitely like, they're a little bit more. They're not like outright racist. Like some of them are, obviously, because they have a complex. They have an elf complex.
Complex.
But not like humans, where some humans will just like straight up spit at you on occasion. Um,
Yeah, throw
some
beats at you.
yeah, where they sentence you to a beating, a beeting.
That's famous for Adon. Yes.
Yeah.
Beatings.
They don't do the stockades and rotten tomatoes. They do beats. It is a beating.
Bunch of beet farms around.
Yeah. Um, Man, I completely forgot where we were going off on that tangent.
And we went
Oh
to
yeah.
the alley with the work. I was asking more about the city.
Yeah. So you are relatively familiar with the city. You know the main roads like the back of your hand, no problem. You know a lot of the side alleyways off of the main roads. But it's the inner workings that you're a little less familiar with. Like you're not quite so familiar with the deeper alleys. You can kind of get a sense of where you're at because there are, numerous large buildings that oftentimes will creep above rooftops. If not, you can easily, typically find a way to get on a rooftop to kind of identify where you're at and start heading that way. But you don't know these deeper alleyways quite as well. All right. So you followed the orc into some of the deep alleyways, places that you're not quite familiar with. Um, you're starting to get a little lost, like a little turned around, like you don't know. Um, you're not quite sure where north, south, east, or west is at this point.
Mm.
Um, and right as you start to kind of wonder, like, is he actually taking me to the thieves guild, or is he just like luring me into a trap or something like that? Um, you notice at the end of one of the alleyways, on off to the side of the wall, is a little outhouse.
Oh,
Yeah, like a porta potty outhouse. You can't stay away
took
from the
me here
crap
to
there.
take a shit.
He heartily chuckles and says, "Sorry." He heartily chuckles at you and says, "Not quite, but I figured this would be quite home for you." And he kind of like makes a jab at you.
I just get kind of like,
Get kind of
got
what?
a little angry that he like, you know, but not like to the point like I'm like ballistic.
Right, you're just a little perturbed that he just made a poop joke at your expense.
Yeah.
um, so he walks up to the outhouse and it's got a chain and padlock on it, and you see him pull a key out of his pocket and unlock it. Um, Actually, you see him pull the key out of his pocket, stick it in the lock, and turn it. And as it turns, you hear something click, and then the whole front of the outhouse swings away. So it wasn't the lock and the chain that came off, but it was like the front of it was on hinges and just kind of uh, came out. Does it make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just more kind of wondering if somebody goes to the bathroom in there where it goes.
So when you walk in, you can see that the outhouse kind of sets into the wall that it's in a little bit. It was kind of like carved out of the back, and at
Yeah.
at the back end is a ladder.
Oh,
And you've suddenly understood that this is not actually a toilet.
yeah.
um, and so the orc, after opening it, kind of looks down at you and very elegantly kind of bows a little, like a little shallow bow, and sweeps his arm into the like out and about, like as if he's gesturing, like goblins first sort of thing. He sweeps his arm out in front of him and like gestures inside, indicating that he wants you to go in and down the ladder first.
I kind of like tell him like, and then I just start going down.
So you start to object, and then you're like, whatever. Um, all right, so you walk in, and as you walk in, before you even get to the ladder, he walks in behind you and shuts the door. And it didn't look like it from the outside, but it's surprisingly roomy in here. It's definitely fitting a 6 foot. I think he's like, yeah, he's 6 foot even orc, tall, kind of thin, and then you, the 3.5 foot goblin. um, and
Is it dark?
It is dark. Yes, it's not like pitch black. Like there's some light kind of filtering through the porta potty, but otherwise it is dark in there.
Right.
So do you go down the ladder?
Yes.
Okay. So you step forward and grab the top rung in the ladder and start to climb down. As you look down below you, you can see a faint, like orangish yellow glow, kind of flickering.
Mm.
And as you start climbing down, he starts climbing down after you. And then you guys make your way into a tunnel, and at the base of a tunnel is a torch. And he bends over and picks up a stick and sticks it in the torch, and it lights up. And lo and behold, there is another torch here. So he leaves the one,
Yes.
huh?
Okay. Oh, I was saying I guess I do the same.
You look around, and there is no other torch on the ground. There's just one torch, and
I
he
thought you
has it.
said there was another one on the ground.
No, there's one set into the wall, and he picked up one off the ground.
The wall.
You take the one off the wall? Okay. Um, so you reach up. It's just barely within your reach to grab the torch off the wall. And as you remove it from the wall, he turns around and says, "Hey, put that back. Other people need to use it."
I just drop it on the ground then. And I just keep walking in front of him.
He glares at you and you know what? All right. So we'll say. So he glares at you, and as you walk past, he swats you in the butt with the torch.
And I'm like, I said and I'm like, none of that right now. And then we just keep going.
He bends over, picks up the torch, sets it back in the wall, and very quickly, like, doesn't even seem like he's trying. He just walks past you and in front of you, and as he walks by you, he just mumbles, "Disrespectful, ungrateful little goblin." And he's just kind of like mumbling to himself. So you
I find it quite amusing.
getting back at him for that poop jab, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
And die when he like.
No, he didn't do any damage to you. It wasn't meant to hurt you.
I know.
No, your cloak went up in flames, and you've perished in a burning, fiery death.
Oh darn it! It's the Dark Souls of D&D.
So he leads you down this tunnel, and there's no branching or anything like that. It's just a straight tunnel, so you don't have to worry about thinking like, oh, which way do I need to escape? You know that if you turn around and run backwards, then you would be, heading toward an escape.
Okay.
And after about like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, is there anything that you wanted to do in that time? Did you want to ask any questions, talk, or are you just walking and following in silence?
I mean, like, so I don't really even like. I don't know. Like, I truthfully would just keep following.
Okay.
Stay hesitant.
Okay, so you're gonna stay aware and like
Aware.
I don't know, like 5 feet behind him or like 8 feet behind him, something like that. So you walk for a few minutes, and then eventually it breaks out into into dance. Dance party. No. It kind of breaks out into this this like small cistern, kind of like sewer type area, cistern sewer area. And he starts leading you down one of the sewer canals on the side. What?
I say, okay, I'm following.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that. Sorry. And after another like maybe 20 minutes or so of walking through the sewer, which at first smelled a lot like poop and urine and other sort of grossness. After a while, begins to fade. One, because you're getting used to it, and two, because there's less of it in the area that you're in. And eventually, he kind of breaks you out into this small cavernous room. It's partially made out of like worked stone, so like brick and that sort of thing, but it's also partially like a cavern. And down here is it's a small expanse. It's maybe like 120 feet across. Like it's not a huge place, but it's relatively big. And there are various there's torches all over the place, different light sources, candles, torches. There's the occasional like glowing orb of magic light, and you see about like 5 or 6 of them like slowly swirling above, uh, toward like the roof, the ceiling,
Mm.
and they're slowly turning and rotating and going over the whole place, kind of like a chandelier, a very large chandelier of light. But it's instead of chandeliers, it's made out of 5 or 6 orbs, just glowing orbs of light. Um, and he takes you uh, through this cavern. There are various tents and kind of like ramshackle buildings. You see a few stalls. There are people of all different races there. You see the occasional gnome and halfling. You see a few humans, some elves, a few dwarves, some more orcs. Surprisingly, no other goblins, though.
Listen, did you just need to fill your quota?
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
He looks back at you quizzically for a moment, and then finally, like, it kind of dawns on him what you meant, and he chuckles and says, um, he chuckles and says, "I've never seen a goblin with your type of skill. We've never had a need for him here."
Well, no, you probably never even seen a goblin.
He kind of chuckles and says, "I saw you, didn't I?"
I was like, yeah, I guess. Just keep going. I'm just making like small, like really talk.
Small talk at this point. You're tired of like an hour of like silence and not saying anything.
Yeah. Like, I don't think Smeggle's like a big talker
Okay.
to himself, but deception and all that stuff. But like,
So he's not one that talks like does a lot of talking, but when he does talk, he's pretty good at it.
yes,
And that's probably thanks to spending 3 years enslaved to noblemen. You learned a lot about like politics, some persuasion. You're not too charismatic, but that's mainly because you're a goblin.
mm,
But you understand some of the nuances and stuff. So when you need to be, and sometimes when you try to be, you're pretty good at it. But other times, maybe not so much.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, after walking through a little bit, he takes you to the other side of the cavern, and then there's on this side of the cavern you can see it's a lot more stonework and less cavern, less like natural rock formation, and there's a hallway. There are a few hallways, but he takes you down this hallway, and it's got like a door on one side of the hallway, a door on the other, and then after a little bit another door and another door, and he goes down a few doors and then turns to one and knocks on it rhythmically, just kind of like 1 2 1, and then another one that kind of like it knocks, but it like kind of slides down at the same time, so it kind of gives it this long rasp.
I like remember it.
Okay, so you remember it was basically, and then the
I'm
long
just saying,
rasp.
like, do I have to roll anything just to remember it? So in the future,
No, you would go ahead and if it's something you want to remember, you remember. If you want to take a note of what it was, take a note. Um,
yeah,
if and this is me DM talking to you. If in the future you try to remember it and forget, that is when I would have you roll like a history check or something, and then based off of what you roll,
personally would forget.
what's that?
So me as myself, like personally.
Right.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna play kind of a fine line here. Whatever you remember is going to be what your character remembers, within reason. If you decide to take notes, that is perfectly fine. You can remind yourself of stuff that you should know that way. But if there is something that you truly forget, then chances are your character is going to forget it as well. Like I said, within reason, unless it's something like important about your character that he would remember. Like if you forget how to talk in Thieves' Cant, your guy is not going to forget how to talk in Thieves' Cant,
Yeah.
for instance. Um, anyway, So he knocks on the door and waits a few moments, and then the door opens, and you see an older human. He's got kind of scraggly gray and white beard and kind of thinning, patchy hair. And he ushers in the orc and yourself. And uh, when you guys get in there, the older human shuts the door, and then the orc begins walking to the back of the room through another door. Yeah, toward the back of the room through another door.
Okay.
You follow him?
I like stand there for a minute,
Okay.
like looking at him, like what, towards the door.
Well, he disappears through the door, and the old man goes back to a chair and table and just sits back down. And there's a candle there, and he's just reading a book.
I like slowly peer to the door.
So you walk up to the door that the orc walked through and peer in there. And in there is it's a small square room. There's a desk at one end of the room with a bookshelf next to it and a few more bookshelves lining the walls. There's a chest off to the side in the corner, and there's a table. There's a table with some parchment, some scrolls, a book, a couple candles, and then what looks to be a map.
Okay.
Um,
Work doing.
the orc walked over to his desk. He was rummaging through some stuff, dipped into the chest, went up to one of the bookshelves, standing there watching him for like a minute or two, and he's pulling some stuff and putting it on the table.
I'm just watching. I'm just I'm actually just looking around the room,
You're looking around the room.
like what's everything that's in. You
Um,
told me pretty much everything that's there, but
I
that's what he's doing.
yeah, I told you some of the fixtures. Um, Go ahead and make a perception check. All right.
Yeah, I'm blind.
Um,
I think it's all the walking in the dark is just like
hold on. I gotta take a picture of this because this is glorious.
important. I mean, really.
No, it's honestly not that important at all. It's just a matter of like how perceptive you are to what's going on in the room. So you walk in, you kind of watch him for a moment, and you just kind of look around, and you're looking at things, but you're not really able to grasp what you're looking at. Like there's just a whole bunch of paper, and it looks like a mess. It's very like unkempt and disheveled, and you know unorganized. And you don't really notice anything important about anything around. So the orc, after finishing gathering some stuff, lays out a bunch of stuff on the table, a lot of papers and stuff, and then he motions to you for a stool that's in the corner of the room and says, "Have a seat. Let's talk about this job."
Okay, and I mean, I sit down. I like waltz over to it.
Okay, so you walk over, grab the stool, pull it up to the table, and unfortunately, because you're short, it's not quite the right height for you. So to get a better look at everything that's on the table, you basically
I'm just standing on it.
yeah, you basically are standing on the stool, and the orc kind of looks at you and then like leans over and looks at like what you're doing and just kind of chuckles to himself. um
That makes me a little bit more perturbed.
like it's not so much of a he's well, I don't know if you would really notice this, but it wasn't meant to be like he's laughing at you. It's more of just oh right, he's short, he's not going to be able to see this very well, and he's just laughing at the fact that you got to stand on the stool. But anyway, so
They're hanging up.
do I?
I said, is there any torches in the room hanging up?
Just Actually, no. He doused his torch on his. Once you guys reached the cavern, he kept it with him and tossed it to the side of the room you were just in. But there are some candles on the table.
I'm not going to aggravate him.
I was really hoping that you would just go, I blow out the candles. uh, anyway, so after he's got everything prepared, he looks at you and says, all right, so I watched what you could do out there. You were quiet, you were quick, and you were able to steal more than just the jerky. I know you got the guy's lockbox. I saw you steal a pouch. And you got yourself a good haul of food there, too. That'll last you quite a few days. But what are you going to do after that, huh?
Didn't I come here with you?
Well, I'm just saying. Once 10 days are up, you're going to be out of food. You need yourself a cushy amount of money. Wouldn't you agree?
I'd agree.
Okay.
Provide.
Do what?
Thing you can provide.
He kind of grins at you and says, I've got a perfect job for you. And the money you make off of this is based on how sneaky you are. You see, there's a certain nobleman here in Eldon that I really want something that he has. How do you...
Don't we all?
He tilts his head at you a little, kind of raises an eyebrow, like he's questioning, like trying to discern if there was any hidden meaning behind what you just said. And then he kind of...
I hide it well enough.
You do what?
I said I hide it well enough.
Yeah, I was going to say, he kind of looks at you and he's like, was the... nah. Like, it's both a mixture of, like, you hide it well enough, as well as him just being like, that's none of my concern. Like, I don't need to worry about this. I just need him to do this job. So he looks at you, and he says, how do you feel about burglary?
That I'm good at.
Say that again a little louder.
I said it's something I'm good at.
He kind of nods. He says, all right, how do you feel about breaking into a manor?
Plenty of times.
His eyebrows kind of raise in a mild surprise, kind of like he's done it plenty of times, he says. And go ahead and roll a deception check. Because I don't think you've quite... Dear God. Because at this point, I don't think you've ever actually broken into a manor.
Trying to get more money out of it.
Oh,
My skills.
I see what you're doing. So you are actually lying to him to try and get more money out of it. Dear God. So, so you tell him that you've done it a few times. His eyebrows kind of raise up in like surprise, like, wow, I wasn't expecting him to be living on the streets if he's been breaking into manors all the time. But you know, he recalls what he watched you do and how literally no one noticed you. He freaking watched you go up the robe of some random passerby and they didn't even notice. Like he full on believes that you are a fantastic burglar at this point. And so he says, good, I need someone of great skill like yourself. Because, you see, what I need you to steal, it's not just items, it's not clothes, it's not money. I need you to steal a box.
A box. Okay.
And he describes it to you. He says, I need you to steal an ornate wooden box. It's about the size of like a cigar box, if you've seen one of those before.
Yeah.
So it's about the size of a cigar box. And he briefly describes it. He says it's made out of like ebony wood, black wood. It's It's got some metal gilding to it, so the corners have metal plating, and it's got a kind of woven, almost Celtic slash nature design. Like, you know how the Celts have that like very wavy knot type art. It's basically got that design on the top. He's just kind of briefly describing what it looks like to you. Um,
I'm saying, and I guess you're not going to tell me what's in that box.
uh, a slight grin creeps at his mouth, and he says, "You would be correct. I guess you have done this a few times."
I keep nodding and keep listening to what he has to say.
So he says, "What I need you to do, the house that we're looking for is located in the shoot, I forget the term. It's like the upper district. He says it's located in basically the nobles district, where all the noble houses are, where all the politicians' houses are. It's just outside Palace District. That's what I'm looking for. It's just outside the king's palace. Basically, like there's the palace where the king and the royal family live, and then just outside of that is going to be the noble district, where all the nobles and all the politicians live. And he says that it's a house in the noble district.
Okay.
He says it's a simple 2-story manor. And like just kind of continues to describe it to you. It's on its own estate. It's got its own well. It's got a big fountain in front of it with some hedges. It's so you know those houses that have like those bay windows that are like one big front and then like it's kind of angled like a stop sign.
Yeah. I
Um,
sort of do, yeah.
it basically looks like those kind of windows. So like
Yeah,
if that
yeah,
were
yeah.
he says it's basically got he says it's got some bay windows on the front on both sides. 2 stories and two big decorated ornate metal doors on the front of the house. Um, so he describes what it looks like and where it is for you to roughly know where about it is. You haven't spent too much time actually in the nobles district, the higher district like that, but you figure with a description like this, it shouldn't be too hard to locate it.
So I ask him, well, it is once he's finished, I guess, explaining everything. What to say?
What was that?
I said, was that all he had to say? I was gonna ask some questions.
The last thing that he tells you uh, is the name of the nobleman that you are trying to break into the manor of is a Torin Lombel.
Lombel.
Yeah, Lom as in Mary, Bel.
As in like a cow man.
What?
Like a Tauren.
Toren.
Okay. I thought you meant like the other type of Tauren.
No, not Otto Torin. It would be
So,
Torin Lombel. There you go. Oh, sorry. You
oh,
know what?
that's his name. His name is Tauren Lombel.
Yeah.
Meant like his race. I
No,
thought
no,
you
no.
were saying
Yeah, no,
Tauren.
he's a Tauren. You know, no big deal.
It's
Just
a noble Tauren. Like,
just a cow man. No, it's a human. And his name is Torin Lombel or Lombal. So that way you have an idea of who the nobleman that you're stealing from is, and to you, roll a. Let me pull up your character sheet real quick. I guess a history check. Dear God.
Sorry, Cody.
Jesse, stop. Just
Man,
stop.
I'm gonna be rolling ones and twos. That was 18.
I need to get you your own set of dice for you to roll in person. Because, dear God. All right, so you're not too familiar with the noblemen and the politicians in the hierarchy and stuff like that. You haven't made too many escapades up into that area, but you've definitely heard the name. You've heard it from people in taverns. You've heard it from people on the sides of the road. Like passersby, people talking. You definitely recognize the name. And so you know that he's actually a politician, and he has quite a bit of say in power in Eldon. Not like anywhere near close to what the king has or some of like the major politicians have, but he's got enough sway to be a relatively like formidable foe if you were to like cross them in any sort of way. He's relatively wealthy. He's got a nice estate, and you have heard people talk about his estate before, so you have a little bit better of an idea of where you're going. But yeah, so you basically understand that he is a politician. Yeah?
Okay.
Okay. I didn't know if you were waiting on something or wanting to ask a question or something.
I wasn't sure if he's done.
Well, that was me. Oh, yeah. The last thing he told you was the name of the guy that you're going for, and then you made the roll to see if you knew who it was.
Okay. So I ask where he thinks where the box might be inside the manor.
He says, "Now, I've never been inside the manor myself, so I'm not quite sure where he might keep it, but he's a cautious man. He'll keep it somewhere close to him. He'll either have it maybe in the study, in his bedroom itself, or in his office. It could be in a safe. It might be in a false cabinet, hidden in his desk, in a bookshelf, in a chest, a dresser under his bed, maybe even in the floorboards. He'll hide it away. He'll keep it safe, but not anywhere too difficult for him to get to."
Hmm. Then I ask if when this was his Torin,
Yeah,
whatever,
Torin Lombal.
whatever. All right. When he frequents, like he leaves the mansion, does he frequent the town at a certain time?
Um, he says he's often during the day he's often out among the courts, visiting other politicians, and taking care of his typical duty of being a nobleman and politician and speaking. So during the day he's typically gone in the early morning, but comes back in the afternoon and evening, and typically spends his day there. On the weekends, basically, I don't quite have a calendar set for the game per se, but just know it's like it's pretty similar to our 7 days a week, where you work some of the days and have off some of the days. So essentially, on the weekends when people have had most of their time put in for work and they're taking some time off, some rest, he tends to frequent some of the local local parlors, local high-end taverns, and partakes in some of the meeting parties with other people, with other politicians.
So that's during the day.
That'll be toward the evening and night. He'll be away, basically socializing. He'll be going to socials.
Okay.
and that's like the other half of his time. So like during the morning, he's typically working and doing that sort of thing. If he's not out of his house, he'll be in his office writing writing and doing research and stuff like that. Um, and the orc at this point smiles and says, "And it just so happens for this coming week, he's going to be away on business."
Do you think he would have the box on him?
No, this is not something that he would take with him on travels. This is something that he would keep home and make sure it stays safe.
Does he have a high guard presence?
Just the standard array of guards that would be in the noble area. His house itself, he doesn't have any guards, no, just some wait staff.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. Well, do I know the standards of the Thieves Guild? Is it that? Well,
Like rules that go along with a job.
yes.
It depends on the job. Um, Roll another history check for me. What does that put you at?
So history would be under what?
Intelligence, so that puts you at a 12.
Plus one, so it's 12.
Yeah. Um, so because you haven't worked with the Thieves Guild, you've only heard talk of them, you're not too familiar with them and the jobs that they do and that sort of thing. Um, so you know that there are various jobs. You've heard of like assassination plots and spies, and you've heard of burglary and theft and stuff like that. But it all kind of runs together for you. Um, so he, so yeah, that's basically what you know.
So I think I have the information I need.
Um,
Um, oh, okay.
Go on.
Okay, I think I got what I need for this job.
So does that mean you agree to do it?
Well, one other thing. What's this all in for me?
Now this big grin appears on his face because this is what he was waiting for. This is what he's used to dealing with. People wanting to know what's in it for them, what they're going to get, that sort of thing. Uh, so with his big grin, he says, "Well, first things first, my friend. I need you to know that on this job, you are not to be seen. You are to stay in the shadows. You are to stay out of sight. If anyone sees you, you better make sure you get that box. No killing and no opening the box. Now, as for what you get out of it, your compensation is going to be whatever you can steal from this house. Because we can't let them know what we were there for. We have to make it look like an actual burglary job. So what you earn is based off of how well you can steal.
Hmm.
And from what you've displayed today, my friend, looks like you can steal very well."
I nod. And I kind of look, like, roll my eyes up into my head, like I'm thinking. I say,
I was going to say, he gives you a few moments to think. Still with the big grin on his face.
"Are you sure that's enough? I mean, I have done this many times before, as I told you."
And he kind of narrows his eyes at you and says, "Well then, if you've done this so many times, you'll have no problem making out like a bandit. You'll probably get paid well worth more than what this little box I want is worth."
And I agree.
All right. So, you tell him you'll do the job? and the big smile appears back on his face, and he goes, "Ah, that's my boy." And he reaches out for a handshake.
And I just look at him and I nod and I get up and start going.
And you just kind of left him hanging. Wow. And as you, he stands there just kind of looking at you and then looking at his hand and being like, disrespectful little no. And he just like starts mumbling about you under his breath. And he says, "Oh, one more thing. You know how to get back here, don't you?
Of course.
Make a deception check."
Come on. Gotta get a high.
He does not believe you at all.
And I just wink at him like I was just joking with him.
He's not buying it. He he busts out laughing. He's just guffaw like the heartiest laugh you've ever heard. He starts holding his stomach and his sides. He's laughing so hard. And then as he catches his breath, he says, "Good. That was my intention, to make you get lost." And then he grabs a piece of paper off the
Of course.
off the table, walks over to you, and hands it to you.
What's the piece of paper?
Well, it's rolled up in his hand right now.
So he handed it to me.
Well, he's handing it to you. Do you take it?
I guess I take it, yeah.
Okay. So you take it, you open it and look at it, and it is a message. It says, basically, to get in contact with him again, to go to the Rusted Nail Inn, and to speak, basically speak to the barkeep in Thieves' Cant. To insinuate to him that you're looking for work, and he'll get you back to the Thieves Guild, basically.
Piece of paper in my backpack.
All right. All right, so I think this will be a good point to take a break. I'm supposed to go meet Steven for lunch, so I'm going to.
That was pretty darn funny.
That was pretty good, and we're about maybe halfway through. We still have to do the heist.
Cool.